So, Mr. President, Chairman, IEEE, and ICCE, ladies and gentlemen, we are very proud to have received this eminent award, and at least to myself, it is a little receipt that the hard work during the years has paid off. We have a short presentation that we would like to do to you here related to how this all came about. You have to excuse my English, I'm Swedish. It all started in a little shack in a basement in Stockholm. Nothing luxury, no zillions of dollars in research. This is how it all looked. The technology that we were working with was something I found out. And I would like to give you the truth and nothing but the truth. This research behind this idea was not created with what I should call white coat researchers or white coat scientists. The idea actually came about during a hangover, the day after the party. Believe it or not, I think it was probably the endorphins in my brain who created this idea. And without going into any deep technical details, what we have been working with since is the transform audio coder. And usually a transform audio coder is built up by any type of transform, like for instance the Fourier transform. And the top row here on the picture that you see actually represents the encoder part very, very schematically. And the lower row of the little dots actually represents the decoder side of the audio coding process. Now, when you're working in the transform coding field, this is a very conservative science. And the researchers who are working in this field, they expect to be only vertical lines in this, what we call the frequency domain. My idea was to introduce these alien lines that was crisscrossing here, the red and green ones. And that was actually the basic idea of the whole concept. On this Sunday, I wrote the description for the patent office. On the Monday, I went to the patent's office to do a patent research. 1 week later, we started the company Coding Technologies behind this when we got a positive result from the patent office. Here is the team a couple of months later when we done more research. This is the base group that was working with this invention and developed this very, very basic idea into something useful. What we developed was actually a turbo. You know, the turbo that sits on an engine to improve the performance of the engine. So we had a turbo, but we didn't have any engine. And who were doing the best engines in the audio coding world in those days? It was the Fraunhofer Institute of Erlangen in Germany. In this group, I met Dietz, my colleague here, who was the team leader of this group. And we started to do some negotiations. If not that team group from the Fraunhofer Institute should join the company and we should start the coding technologies in Germany. And this all happened. So this is the first German team that joined the Swedish team. Later on, I can tell you that we did some successful introductions of our technology. So we have a little timeline here. It started from the left, where we started the company with 4 employees in 1997. 2000, the spin-off from the Fraunhofer Institute and Martin Dietz' clever team joined us with another 16 employees. 2001, we took the decision to standardize the technology. And Kristofer has been the leading scientist of taking care of all our quite difficult and burdensome standardization work. Probably some of you have worked in this field and know it's politically very difficult when you want to introduce new technology. And particularly in this field, it was alien technology. You remember all the red and green things crossing the parallel lines. 2003, we get the HEAAC, which represents the high-efficient AAC codec standard into MPEG 4. 2004, we got into the 3GPP standard for the mobile phones that should play music for the listeners. 2004, the HEAC was part of the DVD toolbox. 2007, the company landed, Coding Technologies landed in the safe hands of Dolby Laboratories, who procured the company. And today, we got the receipt, this prestigious IEEE award that I'm very proud of. Kristofer here, my colleague and long-term team leader, will show you how this technology works. Please, Kristofer.
Thank you, Lars. So I came to that research shack. It was my first job, and I was there at 8 o'clock in the morning. I want to be a good employee. There was nobody there. So I thought, I'll go to the library, read up on some papers. Back at 10, nobody there. Back to the library, reading more papers. Back at 12, still nobody there. So I went home for the day and called later, and Lars answered and said, "Oh, we're not usually in that early." But then on the other hand, whenever you wanted to go home, he would ask, "Going home, are you on working hours?" So, yeah. Anyway, I thought I'd give a little, very top-level presentation of how it works. So, you need good researchers. Here you have our Chief Entertainment Officer, we usually call him Martin, and Lars researching audio together at one of our events. On a more serious note, this is a top-level diagram of the HEAC decoder. So you basically have a core decoder, which is the AC, and then you have the SBR decoder, which is our turbo. And basically, what happens in this device is that the core decoder decodes a certain amount of bandwidth, which is usually a low-pass filter. So in this graph, you can see that it covers around about 6 to 7 kilohertz of bandwidth. So that signal is analyzed by the SBR decoder, and the analyzed signal is used to create a high-frequency regenerated signal. And this is then based on the low-band signal received and some additional control that you get from the stream as well. Now, you can't listen to this right away. Well, you could, but it doesn't really sound as good as it could, so you need to do some extra tricks. So basically what you do is you have an envelope adjuster that, based on information from the encoder, then adjusts the envelope to match that of the original. So basically we have created a new excitation signal, and we transmit a good estimation of the spectral envelope from the encoder to the decoder. However, one needs to recognize that if you do that kind of algorithm, you're not really taking into account differences in tonal to noise ratios and so forth of the high band that you've now created. So basically what we do is we have an additional module that adds additional high-frequency components to make it sound more natural, more like the original. So these are really the basic components. Obviously now you need to glue it all together, which you do at the end, and you have transformed this narrow band, low band signal into a wide band signal. And that's, on a very high level, the principle of how it works. Then, of course, the devil is in the details, as they say, and quite a lot of thinking needs to go into doing this in a very efficient manner and making it really sound as natural as possible. So, how good is it? Yes, Martin, how good is it? Can you tell us?
I hope I can. Well, of course, in a company that does audio compression, listening tests are very important. So we ran a lot of listening tests. And one day I received a new test, which had a listener, an employee called Alan on the list, and I didn't know I had an employee called Alan. So that was strange at those times because the company was fairly small. So I asked my Swedish colleagues, who is Alan? Can you please tell me? And they did not give me an answer, but they sent me this picture here. So apparently this was a very important listener. But on a more serious side, of course, compression technologies like HEAC have been tested a lot, and before they could really become successful in the industry, the way, you also see an algorithm that didn't really make it into the market, MP3 Pro, which is MP3 with our turbo, SPR turbo put on top, which, as you can see, works rather well from a technology point of view, but did not really make it into the marketplace. So not everything that works makes it into the marketplace. The other test I wanted to show you is the multi-channel test that the EBU did in 2007. And here you can see, this is the bit rate, and here you have the Mushra quality score. So you can see that AAC plus, or high efficiency AAC, gives you a very good performance at very low bit rates, much lower than the technologies that had been standardized before. And this is what, of course, gives you much increased efficiency for all transmission or deliveries that really need that. So, where is it used in practice? And it's used in many, many applications today. And, the list I'm going to show you here is by no means exhaustive. But one of the first areas we looked into was actually digital radio, because digital radio needs compression the most. If you can double the efficiency of an audio compression scheme, it means two times the capacity on the channel. So we started out with promoting it, for example, to Digital Radio Mondiale or World DAB, and we got very successful in promoting the technology. We became part of almost all digital radio standards and all mobile TV standards. The problem, however, was not all of them, or only one of them really became successful, and that's still true today, and that's XM Satellite Radio, which was also, or today it's Sirius XM, which was our first customer also, and we are very grateful that they were, accepting us at a very early stage. This helped us a lot. Let me just go to this slide. The next area we tackled was the mobile phone world. And we started promoting our technology in 3GPP, and after some tough fights, actually became successful, and this was really what turned the company into cash flow positive and into a good future, because we became accepted by 3GPP and by the mobile world. So all of the mobile phones, most of the more advanced mobile phones today, have our technology. And last but not least, we started promoting the technology into digital TV. So DVB was already mentioned. It's also used in ATSC and in ISDVT, which is the Japanese standard that is also used in South America. And there we also became rather successful with this technology. And well, I guess in the end, successful enough that Dolby, as was already mentioned, decided to acquire the company in November 2007. And by the time, the company had grown to roughly 60 employees, which you can see here on this picture. And since the company, I think, has, or what was the kernel of the company, has further grown, at least the office in Germany has expanded quite a lot, the Swedish office, I think, as well. So the company is in very good hands, and